Have a great session. Have a great spot.
Thank you, Shags.
Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Dale.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Dale.
Hi, haven't seen you on
Hi, Marion.
Zoom much yet.
I know, I haven't.
Hi there.
Do anything.
Get with the program.
Not with the program,
Doing a lot.
yes.
Oh,
Maybe somebody
been
could tell the story.
amazing.
It's a good idea. Welcome, all of you. Marion, FYI, Shags has kindly, and Liz has kindly agreed to be co-host.
Yeah.
Shags is with us in the background doing more than one thing. And I would like to open it up with an offer for anyone who would like to go first to do that and see if there is anyone who would like to go first tonight.
Well, I haven't told the story for months and months, so it's kind of building up pressure. Should I go first?
You're a hard act to follow. I should warn everybody who will. But yes, I would love that if you did.
Okay.
Some
of you have heard this before. That's the Mountain Whippoorwill. It's actually a poem by Stephen Vincent Benet, a story in verse. Up in the mountains, this lonesome all the time, soft winds slewing through the sweet potato vine. Up in the mountains, this lonesome for a child, whippoorwill calling when the sap runs wild. Up in the mountains in the fog, everything's as lazy as an old hound dog. Born in the mountains, never raised a pet, don't want nothing and never got it yet. Born in the mountains, lonesome born, raised running ragged through the cockleburs and corn. Never knew my pappy, maybe never should. Think he was a fiddle made of mountain laurel wood. Never had a mammy to teach me pretty please. Think she was a whippoorwill flitting through the trees. Never had a brother nor a whole pair of pants. But when I start to fiddle, why, you got to start to dance. Listen to my fiddle, kingdom come, kingdom come. Hear them frogs a chunk it, jug of rum, jug of rum. Hear that mountain whippoorwill lonesome in the air, and I'll tell you how I traveled to the Essex County Fair. Now, Essex County got a mighty pretty fair. All the smarty fiddlers from the South come there. Elbows are flying when they rousing up the bow for the first prize contest of the Georgia Fiddler Show. Old Dan Whelan, with his whiskers in his ears, kingpin fiddler for nigh on 20 years. Big Tom Sargent with his blue walleye, and little Jimmy Weezer that can make a fiddle cry. All sitting around, spitting high and strutting proud. Listen, little whippoorwill, you gotta bug your eyes. Tune a tuning, while the judges told the crowd that them that got the mostest claps will win the bestest prize. Everybody waiting for the first tweedledee when up in comes the stumbling hillbilly me. Bowed right pretty to the judges and the rest, took a silver dollar from a hole inside my vest, plunked it on the table and said, there's my calling card. And anyone that licks me, why, he got the fiddle hard. Old Dan Whelan was laughing fit to holler. Little Jimmy Weezer said, there's one dead dollar. Big Tom Sargent had a yellow toothy grin, but I tucked my little whippoorwill spang underneath my chin and petted it and tuned it till the judges said, begin. Big Tom Sargent was the first in line. He could fiddle all the bugs off a sweet potato vine. He could fiddle down a possum from a mile-high tree. He could fiddle up a whale from the bottom of the sea. You could hear them hands a spanking till they spanked each other raw when he finished variations on Turkey in the Straw. Little Jimmy Weezer was the next to play. He could fiddle all night. He could fiddle all day. He could fiddle chills, he could fiddle fever, he could make a fiddle rustle like a lowland river. He could make a fiddle croon like a loving woman, and they clapped like thunder when he finished strumming. Then come the ruck of the bobtail fiddlers, the let's go easies, the Farrader middlers. They got their claps and they lost their bicker, and they all settled back for some more corn liquor. And the crowd was tired of their no-count squealing when out in the middle stepped old Dan Whelan. He fiddled high and he fiddled low. Listen, little whippoorwill, you got to spread your wings. Fiddled and fiddled with a cherrywood bow. Old Dan Whelan's got honey in his strings. He fiddled a wind by the lonesome moon. He fiddled a most almighty tune. Started fiddling like a ghost, ended fiddling like a host. He fiddled north, he fiddled south, he fiddled the heart right out of your mouth. He fiddled here, he fiddled there, he fiddled salvation everywhere. When he quit bowing, the crowd cut loose. Whippoorwill, there's rain on your breast. And I sat there thinking, what's the use? Whippoorwill, fly home to your nest. But I stood up pert, I took my bow and I put my fiddle to my shoulder so, but there wasn't no crowd to get me phased, but I was alone where I was raised, up in the mountain so still it makes you scared, where God lies sleeping in his long white beard. And I heard the sound of the squirrel in the pine, and I heard the earth a-breathing through the long night time. Well, they fiddle the rose and they fiddle the thorn, but they ain't fiddled the mountain corn. They fiddled sinful, they fiddled moral, but they ain't fiddled the mountain laurel. They fiddled loud and they fiddled still, but they ain't fiddled the whippoorwill. I started off with a dump diddle dump. Oh, hell's broke loose in Georgia. Skunk cabbage growing by the bee-gun stump. Whippoorwill, you're singing now. My mama, she was a whippoorwill pert. My papa, he was lazy. But I'm hell broke loose in a new star shirt to fiddle all Georgia crazy. Swing your partners up and down the middle. Sashay now, oh, listen to that fiddle. Flapjacks flipping on a red-hot griddle, and hell's broke loose. Hell's broke loose. Fire on the mountain, snakes in the grass. Satan's a-biling, oh, Lordy, let him pass. Rabbit in the pea patch, possum in the pot. Try and stop my fiddle, now my fiddle's getting hot. Whippoorwill singing through the mountain hush. Whippoorwill shouting from a burning bush. Whippoorwill crying in the stable door. Sing tonight like you never sang before. Sing to the mountains, little whippoorwill. Sing to the valleys and slap them with a hill. Because I'm strutting high as an eagle's quill. And hell's broke loose. Hell's broke loose. Hell's broke loose in Georgia. There wasn't a sound when I quit bowing. Whippoorwill, you can sing no more. But somewhere or other the dawn was a-growing. Old mountain whippoorwill. And I thought, I fiddled all night and lost. You're a good hillbilly, but you've been bossed. So I went to congratulate old man Dan, but he put his fiddle into my hand. And then the noise of the crowd began. He won.
Yay.
Thank you.
I muted everybody earlier, folks, so unmute yourself so Mitch can hear your applause.
Can you hear us, Mitch?
Well, I hear you now.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, good.
You suggested that
Wow.
we not clap, but, you know, do the twinkly hands so that you could stay muted, but whatever.
I
It's
had to
wonderful.
unmute. That was too amazing.
What?
I had to unmute myself because that was too amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, very great.
This is right. That was amazing.
Linda,
Yes,
as
yes.
in last night, your microphone is interrupting your voice. And last night you plugged it again and then it,
Testing is.
there, good. You're back. Okay.
Thank you for telling me. If that happens in, I don't know why, but if I unplug and replug, I'm good to go.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we're all here. Maybe everyone doesn't know everyone, but if people would like to move along, we can, or if anyone's feeling like they want to know everyone, we can do a quick check-in. This is a lovely group. So I am glad we're here, and I have tonight a story that is very short, and I'm not even necessarily interested in going next. I'm just so glad to be here and even gladder that you all are. Is there anyone who would like to take the next slot?
I'll go. That's Marianne.
Great. Hi, Dale. I see you.
Hi, Dale. This is a Jewish folk tale. Some of them call it a legend about an inspiration for one of their temples. There were two brothers who farmed together, and they divided everything very exactly evenly, really. One brother was married with a large family. The other brother was single. The single brother, one night, he thought, it really isn't fair that we divide our grains evenly because he has such a large family. He has a lot of mouths to feed, and I have just one. I can certainly share. I know what I'll do. At night, I shall carry a sack of grain to his barn and share with him like that. And he did. Meanwhile, the married brother thought, it is not fair that we divide our grain evenly, for when we get old, why, I have many children to care for me, and my brother has no one to care for him. I know, I'll take a sack of grain in the evening in the dark and carry it to my brother's barn. And so he did. This went on for a time, but eventually there was a night that each brother was carrying his sack of grain, and they met in the middle, exactly between their two barns, and they could see what was happening because, after all, each morning they would go to their barn and they knew they had removed a sack of grain, but they still had the same number. They both had saw that, and they were quizzed by how that could happen. And here they saw why it was. Oh, they embraced because they could really feel the brotherly love between them. And God looked down on that, and he saw that brotherly love that was so special and honest. He declared that that was a holy place. And it is said the King Solomon Temple was built in that very spot. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, Marion, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story for right now.
Dale's
Yeah.
right.
Good. Thanks, Dale.
Marion, was that called The Two Brothers?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in Tales for Telling, Stories for Telling, in the chapter called Love and Compassion.
Thank you. So, would you like to raise your hand if you're interested in going next, or next, or next? Hi, Susan.
Does anybody see me? Hello.
We
Hi,
can see,
Sally.
Sally, we can see you. Were you waving your hand? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
Sally, would you be interested in going before Susan, who I thought was going now, but
Sure. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know about you other ladies, but there is this hair problem occurring. You will note I have long hair. Have you ever seen long hair on me before?
It's in style.
Yes, it's definitely in style. So, and I'm wearing a hat because if I take the hat off, well, anyway, so I'm going to tell you this story. Probably heard it from me before, but I will tell you again. And it begins with my birth. When the nurse put me into my father's arms, and he looked down at me, and my mother was in the hospital bed over there, and he looked down at me and pulled back that little cap, you know, the little cap that the babies wear. Oh, Mother, look at this. Our baby has curly hair. It's like a little princess crown on her. And he kissed me right here. Now, I don't know if my mother thought I was a princess or not, but she loved to fool with my hair. First, it began with the little curls, and then the little bows in the curls, and then the long curls like Shirley Temple, and then the braiding of the hair. Every morning, the braiding of the hair and the brushing of the hair. on and on it went until I got to high school. And when I went to high school, the first day of high school, I walked in and I had this hair, long hair all over, out to here, natural curly. And I looked around and all the girls were wearing short hair cut in the back in what we called a DA, a duck's ass. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, oh, this will never do. And on the way home, I dropped into a beauty parlor and the lady said, what would you like to have done? And I said, cut it like this. And I walked home and I went into the house and my mother looked at me and she said, wait till your father sees your hair. Well, he didn't say anything, but he never called me princess again until the day he walked me down the aisle. And then he took that big chiffon netting and he pulled it over my face and he said, you're my princess and you'll always be my princess. And I walked down the aisle. Now, I was pregnant quite soon after I got married, and in fact, I had 3 children in 5 years, and I didn't have time really to do much with my hair. Good Lord, you know, this one was in diapers, and this one was running around, etc. And so I didn't think much of my hair until one day, when I woke up, I looked on my pillow, and there was quite a few strands of hair on my pillow, and I thought, now what is that? And I went into the bathroom and I began brushing my hair and I looked at my hairbrush and it was full of hair. And the next day the scene was repeated with more hair falling out and I went to wash it and great clumps came out in my hand. And I thought, what is the matter here? You know, the princess, the queen, she's losing her hair. And so I went to UCLA and spoke to a doctor there, and he looked at me and he said, you have alopecia totalis. I said, what in the hell is that? Total hair loss. Total hair loss? You mean I'm going to lose all my hair? Yes, you are. And I did. And my children looked at me, and I had a few pieces of hair sticking out on top, and they called me Kung Fu Mama. And I began to wear hats. I wore hats all the time and then I began to buy wigs. Now in those days, the department store had wig bars. And I would go to a wig bar and I would try on these wigs. And I had a brown wig and a blonde wig and a red wig and just all these wigs that I wore. And I lost all my hair. I lost all my hair on my legs and all the hair on my arms and all the hair at well, you know where, and I was totally bald. In the meantime, I had this kept up with my social obligations, wearing all my wigs. And one day I was playing volleyball with my Girl Scouts, and I went up to hit a ball, and the girl next to me went up to hit the ball and grabbed my wig in her hands, and it flew over the net, and all the Girl Scouts gathered around to look at this wig. This brown wig lying on the ground like roadkill. Mrs. Holzman, is that your hair? Yes, it is. You're bald. Yes, I am. And so I had to tell them, you know, about alopecia and that I had lost all my hair. And the girls just thought it was wonderful. Every time I wore a new wig, they would compliment me. And if they saw me in the store, they'd go, oh, look at that, you're so cool. Well, as it happened, time passed and the hair came back. Little tufts at first, little tufts, and then a little more and a little more until I had enough to cover my head. And so I went on for many years. And now, dear friends, we are in this wonderful, wonderful time. And this is probably the extent of my hair because something has happened to the top. And so now, as I did then, I look in the mirror and I say to myself, you know, you're not your wrinkles. You know, you're not your nose. You know, you're not your hair. Whoop! And so I'm not. And that's it. The hair in the time of the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Sally, I have a question. How's your dog's eating? How's your dog's eating problem?
My dog, as you see behind me, right,
Yes.
on the couch, dog is eating a chicken diet. Won't eat anything but chicken. If you have any other suggestions, give it to me and I'll be happy to listen to them. But my vet says he's a carnivore, don't worry. So
Sally and I are on the same next door feed, and I saw her post about her picky eating dog.
Who's this talking?
Jags.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Glad to hear
So,
that.
Shags, do you and Sally know about, you know, I'm in Berkeley, and on University Avenue, we have a place, it's called Animal Place. And I don't have a pet and I don't go there, but I get their emails, and I think they have an answer for all things four-legged.
Oh, really?
FYI.
Animal Place.
Yeah, I don't think they deliver on meat. They're yeah. Enough said.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
So, Susan, are you still interested in going next?
I guess so. I just found out about this today from Marion, and thank you, Marion, for inviting me. And
Yes.
I have a Jewish folk tale that I tell children, and I think actually it's appropriate for this time when we're all sheltering in place and being cooped up. And many of you might know this story. It actually is a participatory story. And with children, if anybody wants to join in, feel free. There once was a poor, unfortunate man. He lived in a teeny house with his wife, the mother, his mother-in-law, the grandmother, and his 6 children. It was the middle of the wintertime, and the children had to stay in the house. There wasn't enough room for them to lay out all their toys, and they were pushing and shoving, and soon they were all crying. And it sounded like this. Wah, wah, wah. Well, with all the crying, the mother and the grandmother couldn't get their work done, and they began to complain, and it sounded like this. Oh, no, oh, no. Well, the poor, unfortunate man could not get a moment's rest, and he couldn't stand it any longer. He decided he needed to get help. So where could he get help? The rabbi, of course. He ran to the rabbi's house, told him his story, and said, things couldn't be worse. I'm sure we've all said that many, many, many times in the last many months. And the rabbi listened to the poor, unfortunate man's story, and then he said, you know, I can help you, but you've got to promise to do exactly as I say. Of course, I'm a desperate man. Well, you happen to have a chicken? Chicken, Rabbi? Of course I have a chicken. I'm a farmer. I have chickens in the yard. And the rabbi said, bring the chicken into the house. I should bring it to the house and it's going to help? Do it. What could the poor unfortunate man do? He promised, so he went home, and then, to the amazement of his family, he brought a chicken into the house. And you know what chickens do. They fly around, their feathers, they drop everywhere, onto the beds, on people's heads, even into the soup. So the chicken was doing what it was doing and going buck, 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 buck. The children were crying, wah, wah, wah. The mother and the grandmother were complaining, oh no, oh no. Well, that poor unfortunate man could not get a moment's rest, and he couldn't stand it. He ran back to the rabbi's house, told him his story, and said, things couldn't be worse. Be careful. For the rabbi said, you happen to have a cow? Cow? Of course I have a cow. The cow is in the barn. And you know what he said. Bring that cow into the house. Oh, Well, you all know what cows are like. They're big. They don't use the restroom. And so now everyone had to be watching where they were walking. It was truly disgusting. Cow was going moo, and the chicken was flying around. Buck, 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 buck. The children were crying. Wah, wah. The mother and the grandmother were complaining. Oh no, oh no. But with all that noise, the poor unfortunate man could not get a moment's rest. He ran back to the rabbi's house, told him a story, and said, things couldn't be worse. Well, maybe they could. For the rabbi said, do you happen to have a goat? Goat? Of course I have a goat. The goat is way up in the pasture. And you know what the rabbi said? You bring that goat into the house. Well, do any of you know anything about goats? They do not follow direction. That poor unfortunate man had to get a rope, tie it around the goat, and pull him until finally he was in the house. And then the fun began, for the goat with its horns began to bump into the table, bump into the beds, even bumped into the grandma. Ah! It was horrible. The goat was doing what it was doing and going, bah, the cow, moo, the chicken, buck, 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 the children, wah, wah, the mother and the grandmother, oh no, oh no. But the poor unfortunate man could not take it any longer. He ran back to the rabbi's house, told him a story and said, things couldn't be worse. Well, the rabbi told him to take the goat and put him back in the pasture, take the cow and put it back in the barn, and take the chicken and put it back outside. You know, without all those animals in the house, it was like a miracle. The house now seemed to be twice as big as it was before. There was plenty of room now for the children to play, so they stopped crying. And without the crying, the mother and the grandma could get their work done, so they stopped complaining. Finally, it was quiet in the house, and the poor unfortunate man could get a moment's peace. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you, Susan. What energy you have.
Well, it's a story for children, so it needs a lot of energy, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Ooh.
Where
Well,
have you been
maybe I'll-
telling stories before, Susan?
Well, I live in Carmel Valley, and I'm a
Yes.
retired teacher. I was a special educator. So I told
Ah.
stories for my students. I told stories at local areas, the local stories at a story hour when I took my kids there, my students there, and at my synagogue and such.
That so reminded me of my bubby, because she was a kindergarten teacher before she got married.
Uh-huh.
When she got married, she had to give that up. She was
In those days you
all
did.
time, yes. She had the best stories. So
Ah.
thanks for taking me way back, 60 some years.
You're welcome.
Susan, has Marion recruited you for the children's in July? Marion might want to pipe up, but Susan would fit
I know.
like a glove. Okay.
Yep. She
Well,
meant
here
to
we
come. She meant to come yesterday, but we didn't cross paths. You know. But she's been lurking on my email for a bit, so we're connected now. And I'm happy to meet her tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Well, now where shall we take it from here? Do I see any hands raised? I don't. I'm going back into gallery.
Yeah.
Hi, Martha. I am not picking on you. I am saying hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Dale did earlier, unless Martha wants to go before Dale or Bobby. Maybe John's changed his mind. Maybe Liz wanting to tell. As you can tell tonight, I am the host that's letting everyone be the most.
I want Martha to tell.
I came to listen.
Yeah,
Very good. Was that Bobby?
Yeah.
Thank
Dale
you,
just raised
listeners.
her hand.
Hooray, listeners.
Dale, go Dale.
I came to
Yeah.
listen, but I thought, oh goodness, you can't come empty-handed.
Hey, Dave.
Like, oh no, I know, because I was thinking, oh, I can't come because I just want to listen. And then I thought of a very short one I can do.
Good.
Here we go. Well, the little red hen found a grain of wheat, said, this looks good enough to eat, but I'll plant it instead, bake me some bread, said to the other folks down the street, who will help me plant this wheat? And you know what they all said. This is your part. If you unmute yourselves or say it while you're muted. Not I, said the dog and the cat. Not I, said the mouse and the rat. I will then, said the little red hen, and she did. Well, the sun shone bright and the wind it blew, and that grain of wheat, it grew and grew. It began to sprout, headed out, till it was ripe enough. Said, who will help me harvest this stuff? Who'll help me harvest it?
Not I.
I, said the dog and the cat. Not I,
I.
the mouse and the rat. Not I.
Not I.
Not I.
This is a codependent song. I will then, said the little red hen, and she did. Well, she lugged it to the millers to grind to flour, 'cause the others would offer her no manpower. And at baking time, they all declined to help her. They all declined to help her make
Not I.
What did they decline to help her? They were a doggone no good mob. That's what.
Not I. Not I.
Not I, said the dog and the cat. Not
Not
I.
I.
Not I.
Rat, not
Not
I.
Not
I.
I.
Not I.
I will then, said the little red hen, and she did. Well, the bread looked good and it smelled so fine that the others came running and fell in line. Said, we'll do our part with all our heart to help you eat this chow. She said, I do not need you now. I planted and hoed this grain of wheat. Them that works not shall not eat. That's my credo, the little bird said, and that's why they called her Red.
Yeah.
Very fun.
All right. Great. That was
Wow,
fun.
Dale. Yeah,
Melvina Reynolds.
go Melvin. Did you see that there's a chat from Shags? His Baba did that song too.
Oh, that's great.
Not the
Yeah.
song, story
The story. Well, yeah, everybody knows the story.
of the Little Red Hen.
Now, when I was little, that's the only book my grandparents had. The little grandfather read it to us over and over and over again. I love it.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing it.
Welcome back, John.
Oh, okay. I wasn't, you can hear me.
I
Yeah.
can, but I
okay.
readmitted you, so I thought you might have left.
Well, something happened on the other one. Now I'm just using my phone.
So question, when the host changes, like if I go from spotlight to gallery, does that change the order for everybody else? Do you have to look for people in a new spot?
Yes, sometimes it switches people around.
Oh,
If you're on speaker view, you'll see whoever's talking. If I have it on spotlight, myself as the host or any co-host, spotlight somebody, they should be there all the time. Otherwise, it's up to you whether you see gallery or speaker view.
right. But
Yeah,
as a host,
our order changes, so we can't like go around in a circle. You have to like say either somebody pick the next person or, but yeah, people don't stay in the same relationship to each other.
look at Mitch, look at Mitch.
Would help if we knew who was on stage.
Ah,
Find you.
Mask,
Ah,
Oh,
his special mask.
Mhm.
Where are
Masks,
we now?
well,
Where are we
masks
now?
are in style.
Well, I can talk to the little red hen. My grandmother for me was a little red hen. She baked all the bread, but I've changed it up. I call it the little prairie hen because when I lived in Colorado, the prairie was full of little hens that dashed around. Of course, everything ate them like the rabbits, but my little prairie hen has a mouse help her, and the same thing happens, but I have a prairie dog and a rabbit and a little muskrat that lives in the water that won't help her. So they get all the grain planted and they get it harvested and they bake it, and they have roosters and their little mice, and one of the roosters discovers how to fry it on a rock because in Colorado the rocks would get really, really hot. So they have this fried bread, and she doesn't feed it to the animals at first, but the winter is so bad and everything freezes up that finally she takes out some of her little seeds and she tells them that they get to eat the raw seeds. And then the next winter, they come along and help her plant a field of the wheat. I use oat wheat because that's popular back there. It's more like an oatmeal bread. But I've changed the story all around. And she's a hero because I could, like my grandmother, she walked across the prairies to live in Colorado and lived on a farm. So that's my
Wow.
take on it. Yeah.
She
Thank
made
you.
like a pioneer, one generation.
Yes. Yes.
For a while there, Bobby, it was sounding like a very mighty menagerie.
It was.
My, my. Who wants to tell story? Shall I go next?
Sure.
Like I say, I have a short one. It's got a little bit of, Marion referred to monks, Sally referred to rabbi. This has both. In the mountains was a monastery, and the monks were getting fewer and fewer every year. They were down to 5 monks, and they were getting older. They were so elderly, they were worried, what were they going to do? Nearby, but in the mountains, up a steep path, there was a rabbi. And so the head monk took to the path to go and see if he might talk to the rabbi. Well, the rabbi, when he was asked what he would do, he said to the monk, I cannot give you advice, or I'm not going to give you advice. What I'm going to tell you is to remember that the Messiah is among you. Well, the monk takes this in and takes it down the path and tells it to the other monks. And they all got very quiet. And they all had quite the moment that lasted many moments of, the Messiah is among us? What can that mean? And for a while, the monks thought, I must act like the Messiah is among us. If the Messiah is among us, my behavior must go along with that. And after a while longer, the monks thought, oh, Well, who is the Messiah? It is one of us. I am one of us. I am me. It isn't me. But they didn't know. And to a person, they all changed their behavior without even realizing it. And as time went by, and the people around went by and observed the monastery, they could see all of the monks showing so much gentle kindness and love and stillness and quiet and life that it drew people, and people came by and visited the monastery. And meanwhile, the monks themselves stayed there, and after a while, they even increased in size. And people's friends and friends of the monks added themselves into the mix, either joining or visiting. And that is how this tale ends. The rabbi
Yay.
and the monk, or the monk and the rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank
So now, I hope we haven't lost Martha.
Oh, it looks like we did.
Well, maybe we have. Maybe we have. I'm not sure.
Martha keeps coming in and out. I've admitted her about 3 or 4 times.
Oh, bless you, Liz, co-host.
But so somehow she keeps dropping.
How come
Pauline
I can't
Hale.
see any,
How come you can't see who?
anybody but the
Oh.
person telling the story?
Oh, so let's see, Sally.
Gallery view.
I'm using a desktop Mac, and upper right corner I have speaker view, gallery view.
There's a
I don't have any of that. I don't know what I'm on.
view.
Let's see.
You might have to move your cursor around to get it to light up. Where you see like all the little squares, like a grid.
Wonder if Sally doesn't see anything. Sally, why don't you tell us what you do see?
Yeah.
Well, I have a big picture of you, and right above me, there's this thing like with 4 arrows. I'll look and see what that, oh no, that's bad. Oh, forget that.
Well, isn't that,
Okay, and then I have a participant list.
That's
I
good.
don't know where I am. That's all right. Keep going ahead. I'm fine.
There's nowhere that says speaker view or gallery view.
No, there's no views.
It sounds
No
like
views
my
at all.
iPad. I mean, like my iPhone. Like my Android phone. It's dreadful.
Yes,
Sally,
well,
it's so normal for us.
Yeah, I'm hearing it through my regular, everyday land phone. All right, go ahead, y'all.
Okay.
You.
So let's see, where are we at? There's this, Pauline Hale wanted to join us by phone, maybe by computer audio only. So don't be surprised, Liz, if she tries, but.
Okay. Well, Shags is looking too now, I think, but I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her trying to get admitted.
I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes. Somebody tell a story.
Oh, Sally has to leave. Liz, John, are either of you ready to tell a story?
I could tell one. I haven't really told this one before, except for portions of it to some friends. But I'll give it I can give it a whirl, I guess. Anyway, I'm not sure of a title for this story, but personal experience of would like you all to think back to maybe your first car, or if not your first car, a car that you had that had some stories that came out of experiences of it, whether it be a long trip, mechanical problems that you we were able to fix or get help to fix, or it had something to do with that. So that's, I guess that got me thinking about my first car, which back in 1976, I got a used, I think it was a 73 Toyota Corolla, a yellow car, not, compact, fairly good gas mileage. And at that time, I was kind of mixed, had periods where I was, some school, some work, and then some gaps of time where I said in between that, I'm just going to travel a bit. And that's what I did with that car. And I was never really had confidence in being a good mechanic or anything like that. But I did have a sense of wanderlust. And back in, for a little over 2 months in late winter and spring of '77, I drove back to the East Coast, southern route both ways, went all the way to Key West, Florida, and saw baseball exhibition games back there, relatives, all that kind of stuff that I could see. Even some I had never met before that I got through my folks. And one of my dad's old buddies who had actually he'd been my dad wasn't, but this gentleman had been in the Bataan Death March and survived. And I talked to him about it a little bit. That guy had tears in his eyes. I'll never forget that. But anyway, by the end of that trip, it was like a 12,000-mile trip almost. And with all the, over 2 months, and I just had a great time. Well, anyway, fast forward a little bit to '78, and I was decided, well, I want to do, have a gap of time again. And I was, after some school time, I decided to, really wanted to go to Europe, and certainly not by car, but partway by car. And I planned to drive it to Pennsylvania, actually, to leave it with friends there. And they, they said, sure, they could store the car while I was in Europe for a couple months or so, maybe longer. And anyway, I didn't impose on them too much. At least I didn't think so. But it turned out that the car didn't make it there. It got as far as Denver, or near Denver. I had relatives there that I ended up, it conked out. I wasn't sure what, I still was planning to go to Europe and all that. And other relatives I had that had a rental business, they had some space, rental of a lot of different items. And they had a yard that they could, or a big parking area that they could stay until I decided what I'd do after my trip to Europe. So they were great too. I spent a little time with them. And anyway, after Europe, coming back, this is where the story gets a little bit better, because memorable, I guess I could say, in that my first car was an automatic. And when I got back, I wasn't sure whether to put money into it to fix it up or trade it in. Well, finally decided to trade it in. I went to of all places, it was I got a used car at a Chrysler dealership, but it was a great car to have. It was a 1972 Super Beetle convertible, and the guy that I bought it from, well, he was the one that taught me how to drive a stick shift. I had never done that before. It was late January, and in Colorado, that can be pretty you can have some good days, but you're going to have a lot of wintry days to deal with. But my plan was, after I learned how to drive it and bought it and everything else, was to drive back. And when I finally made the transaction, driving my Toyota Corolla to the front or I guess the area where they did repair shop or something. And right at the door there, it was driving along until it just conked out right in front of the door. There was like a little bit of smoke coming up through the dash and some other, so it was ready. It was done as far as I was concerned, but I did love that first car. And learned how to drive the VW Bug, decided, well, I'm gonna drive it home. I didn't have any, some chains, but I was hoping, I hope I don't have to use them. Anyway, I went up toward 80, up toward Cheyenne, and then across on 80, and boy, did I hit the a blizzard of blizzards as far as I was concerned. I ended up going probably as slow as 25 miles per hour on the freeway until I could finally get off, all these big trucks passing me and everything else. I did get to a truck stop, but I was a pretty cheap about my money at the time, and I thought, well, I did get the car, but I didn't want to, I wanted to be frugal other than that. And so I was at the stayed at the truck stop inside their lobby watching TV and stuff, or their rest, until they said, well, you either have to get a room, which was only $13, or you have to go. Well, stubborn as I was, I said, I'm going to go back to my car. And just, it was probably down around 0, and wind was howling and everything else. I slept just fully dressed in my sleeping bag and got through the night somehow. And weather was great the next day, and I drove back home, and I had that car for 8 or 9 years until I was rear-ended on Treat Boulevard in Walnut Creek, and just had to be written off. But I wasn't hurt in the accident, but it was had it for a long time. It was a great car as well. But there's a little story about my first and second cars. I still love to travel, and sometimes by car, sometimes by ship, sometimes by many different ways. But that's for another time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Wow,
Yay.
John, I can't tell what reigned, luck or pluck. What do you have you ever had that much luck ever since? Was the car breaking down in front of the mechanics?
Oh, well, I had some good luck. I remember on that when I was coming into Denver, I got help from somebody that was with the Colorado, sort of like a maintenance guy for the freeways or something, and he actually pulled me or towed me up to a point where I could start going back down. That was got up to the highest point. I don't know if that was through the Eisenhower Tunnel or which one it was, but it was like, the elevation was really high, and I thank that guy. Was lucky that guy was so good to me there, and I had relatives that were so good to me to hold. So there were a lot of things that were going in my favor. To this day, I don't have a lot of confidence in my mechanical ability, but after I've had cars for a while, I do know how to have learned how to baby them in a certain way, and detect how I can, and know good mechanics that have been good friends too, that can help me out. So I'm thankful.
Oh, wow. Now I want to ask about car talk. Can we have a show of hands for how many people did? I don't know about any more, but have a period of your life where you didn't want to miss a car talk?
I enjoyed quite a few. Yeah.
Oh. So where are we now? Will we ever get Liz to have a tale?
We need them now because we need to laugh. I mean, I can't remember if it was Ray or Tom, which one had the most amazing laugh on radio.
Oh, was Tom
My favorite car talk part was at the end when they signed off with all the people on the crew.
Yeah.
Pick up and drop
Bugsy.
off.
Right.
Pick
Or a
up and drop
chauffeur.
off.
Raz must be drop dragon or something. You have, yeah.
Nikolai Putin.
I never got into it because I came from what I call, quote, car people. And that's all they talked about was cars and racing and this and that. So as a child, I just didn't want any part of it. And as an adult, I wished that I had listened a little closer to them.
They were
But
also
anyway.
funny if you played them backwards.
Oh,
I used to do it.
that's good.
Do we cheat a man how?
Yeah, do we cheat them in hell?
Right, right.
Counted by finger and toe. That was their accountant.
So, is there any talking Liz or even Shags into stepping up or
Sure,
not?
I'll tell a
No
story.
pressure.
Not tonight, sorry.
Make us laugh,
you, Shay.
Liz.
Make you laugh. You know, I'm a laughter yoga leader because I'm not.
Right.
That's the best way for you to make you laugh. And Sally gave me a story a number of years ago called "The Three Laughs," a wonderful Hasidic story. But I don't know if I can. I don't think I can remember it right now. So sorry about that.
Maybe she can.
I was thinking though about a story that I got from one of Margaret Reed MacDonald's books, I think either 3-Minute Tales or 5-Minute Tales. And it's from Thailand. And it's called The Rich Man Seeks a Daughter-in-Law. And I hope there's some people here who don't know it. Raise your hand if you don't know that story. Good, because it's a riddle story. So I was really lucky this past year that I had a gig where I went every month to the same Catholic school in San Francisco, K through 8. I inherited this gig from Olive Shaughnessy, who some of you may know. And I discovered that the kids really loved hearing riddle stories. In other words, a story where they had to come up with their own ideas at one point. So let's see if you can come up with as good ideas. And as I always said to them, I don't care if you get the answer right. I just want to hear how you think. All right. So once upon a time, long ago, there was a rich man with an only son who he loved very much. And as the son grew up, the father realized it was time for him, as the father, to help his son to find a good match. And he kind of trusted his son, but he kind of didn't. He knew he needed a little help. So the thing about this rich man, in a lot of stories, a rich man is stingy and, you know, so forth. This was a very wise rich man. He didn't care if his son married the richest woman or the most beautiful woman. He wanted him to marry a good woman. And so he told his son, go out. And he also was smart enough, again, rare in these old stories, that he wasn't just going to pick someone himself for his son. He realized his son had to find someone that he liked, but as I said, he needed a little help. So he told his son this: I want you to go out and when you see a woman that you think you might like to marry, I want to make sure that you ask them all the same question. And this is the question you must ask each and every one. Say to them, if you were given a really big fish, what would you do with it to make sure that your family could eat for as long as possible? The son didn't really understand why this was such an important or helpful question, but he honored his father and he went from place to place. He saw many women, some beautiful, some rich. He asked them all that question. And every time they gave an answer, he'd bring it back to his father. And his father would always say, no, keep looking, keep looking. And finally, one day, he saw a woman in the marketplace. And he could tell she wasn't the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. She clearly was not the richest. Her clothes were simple. But there was something about her, and he thought, oh, I hope she gets the right answer. because I really want to marry her. And so he asked her, just like he'd asked all the rest, if you were given a really big fish, what would you do with it so that your family could eat for as long as possible? Okay, so if you were that young woman, what would you say? So let's hear people's ideas and listen, listen, and let's see if putting
Try
all
it. I
together.
would dry the fish.
So Bobby said she would dry the fish. That's such a good answer. But unfortunately, it's not the answer that the father was looking for. So I'm sorry, Bobby, you're not going to be able to marry the rich man's son. But
Oh,
I like your answer, though, but that wasn't it. Somebody else?
How about soup?
I'm thinking it might be possible to sell that fish for enough money to buy a whole lot more food that's cheaper than fish.
Mitch, that is such a smart answer, but
Well, I'm
sadly,
Jewish.
you cannot marry the rich man's son either, because that was not the answer that his father was looking for.
I was thinking, what about if we invite everybody to a big dinner
ah,
and everybody comes and we invite everyone to share the fish, and that way we'll always have a really good community to look after us.
That's
Like stone soup
you're pretty
in a
much
way.
on it. I think you get to marry the rich man's son, because what she said was, if I was given a really big fish, I would put it in a pot, and lots of kids will say, put it in a pot, put lots of other vegetables in it so that it gets to be, it extends it. And so that's part of the answer. Everybody sort of, part of the answer. But so cook it so that there's a lot to have. But before you give any to yourself or even to your own family, put some in a bowl and take it to your neighbors in different bowls, right? Then get some more bowls, bring them to your relatives, then bring it to your friends before you eat any of it. And then when they get a big fish or anything else like a big fish, they'll come and bring you a bowl of their food. And that's how you'll feed your family for as long as possible. Way to go.
Oh, Liz.
Didn't we know Dale was going to get the
Good choice.
Sharing bowl.
And what country is it from?
from Thailand. And
Sharing bowl.
Margaret Reed McDonald, her daughter actually and son-in-law teach in Thailand, and her notes say that this really reflects a cultural value, right? That we don't necessarily think of first off in America. So it's a fun teaching. It's fun.
God, I miss Thai food.
Wow, thank you, Liz. Way to go, Dale.
Yeah. she
So
did good.
maybe we have one other tale. I got a chat. It's possible we have another tale. Did I read my chats correctly, Shags?
Yes, I can do a very short fairy tale. This is something I learned a long time ago. It is called The World's Shortest Fairy Tale. And it
Oh,
goes like this. Once upon a time, they lived happily ever after.
your dog's not shaggy enough to tell that story.
Thanks, I'm here all week.
All right.
Oh, it's about the dog.
If I may crack out a turn, I want to match that with the shortest folk song that I know.
Yeah.
I won't bother with the guitar. Had a dog and his name was Blue, but I don't think that'd interest you.
Okay. Well,
You're
I-
muted. You're muted, Linda. Somehow you got muted.
I always go backwards. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So let's all do the same thing that Mitch just did, but it won't be a song and it has no words. We're all going to play the smallest violin in the world. That's pretty good. Wow. So how are we going to take, well, let's see. Oh, it's not even 8:30 yet. Maybe someone has a second story. Maybe people are getting tired.
What
Tell
am
me
I?
how
What
you're
do I
doing.
mean?
What's that, John?
What am I, a second story man?
Well, Mitch,
Uh-huh.
you always have a story in your pocket, but I don't mean to put any pressure.
If you
Can I-
like, I got
Can
another
I
one.
ask Mitch to tell us again who wrote that poem that you did?
Stephen Vincent Benet.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandfather used to recite his poems. So.
So I got another bullet in my gun if you want. This is from a series of humorous stories in verse by a fellow named Marriott Edgar, not Edgar Marriott, but Marriott Edgar from the north of England. And I'll tell the one about Albert and the Lion. There's a famous seaside place called Blackpool that's noted for fresh air and fun. And Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom went there with young Albert, their son. A grand little lad were young Albert, all dressed in his best, quite this well, with a stick with an horse's head handle, the finest that Woolworths could sell. Well, they didn't think much of the ocean, the waves they was piddling and small. There was no wrecks, nobody drowned. In fact, nothing to look at all. So seeking for further amusement, they paid and went into the zoo. There were lions and tigers and camels and old ale and sandwiches too. There was one great big lion called Wallace. His nose was all covered with scars, and he lay in a somnolent posture with side of his face against bars. Now Albert had heard about lions, how they was ferocious and wild, and to see Wallace lions so peaceful, well, it didn't seem right to the child. So straightway the brave little fella, not showing a morsel of fear, took his stick with the horse's head handle and shoved it in Wallace's ear. You could tell that the lion didn't like it, and given a kind of a roll, he pulled Albert inside cage with him and swallowed the little lad whole. Now Pa, who had seen the occurrence and didn't know what to do next, said, "Hey mother, yon lion's that's Albert." And mother said, "Well, I am vexed." So Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom, quite rightly, when all said and done, complained to the animal keeper that the lion had eaten their son. "Right," said Pa, "right, young fella. I think it's a shame and a sin for a lion to go and eat Albert after we paid to come in." Well, keeper were right nice about it. He said, "What a nasty mishap. Are you sure it's your boy that he's eaten?" Pa said, "Am I sure? Here's his cap." Well, the manager had to be sent for. He come and he said, "What's to do?" Pa said, "Yon lion's at Albert, and him in his Sunday clothes too." Well, the manager wanted no trouble. He took out his purse straight away. He said, "How much to settle the matter?" Pa said, "What do you usually pay?" But mother had turned a bit awkward when she thought where Albert had gone. She said, "No, someone's got to be summoned." So that was decided upon. And off they went down to police station in front of the magistrate chap and told what had happened to Albert and proved it by showing his cap. Well, the magistrate gave his opinion and said no one was really to blame, and he hoped the Ramsbottoms would have further sons to their name. But that mother got proper blazing and, "Thank you, sir, kindly," said she. "What, spend all our lives raising children to feed ruddy lions? Not me."
Great.
Wow.
Thank
Fun.
you.
Next, please.
Very fun.
Good
Right,
voices.
next.
I like your voices.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not really a story, but anybody want a little bit of a dachshund beat? You know, I've got my little doggy dachshund.
Sure.
Sure.
All right, here we go. Oh, let's see. Move the controls out of the way and start this. Hey, get down the fiddle, get down the bowl, kick off the shoes, get the bowl, dance the kitchen to the morning line, to Louisiana Saturday night. I saw that on the internet. I laughed so hard.
They do have a hard tail.
They do.
We asked for a laugh and you gave us one.
That's
That's all
right.
I got.
That did it.
Good.
That did
Wow.
it. I'm gonna laugh in the middle of the night.
My green screen's not working here. I'm getting green behind me instead of my image.
I think your dog is offended that you brought in a different doggy.
I think so too. I got to go back to my balloon arch. Oh, what's going on?
Oh gosh, shades of festival.
Christmas.
I don't know why it's.
Kennedy Grove.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
It reminds
I don't
me
know
of that.
why. I don't know why the green screen's not working right now.
Jags, where did you get your green screen?
It's just cardboard that's green.
Uh-huh.
It's poster board taped together behind me. But for some reason, I'm having a really bad problem with it right now.
Well, I'm even more impressed, Shags. I thought it was that you had the wherewithal to get a virtual backdrop that had a balloon arch.
That was working yesterday, but today it's.
Yeah, it was working yesterday. It was good.
The light.
Oh, it
Maybe
goes
the
the
light-
way of all balloons.
Up and out.
No, now the light's off. I got to work with it. Doesn't matter.
There it is.
A little better.
So here we are. It's now.
There we go.
Oh,
but
the
you-
full.
Hey, wow.
What did you do? What did you do?
I opened the window blinds.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
All right.
excellent,
Live and learn.
excellent,
Different
excellent,
lighting.
excellent. So
Is there time enough for a quick share?
I'm happy to go till 9, but many people think 8:30 is the time. But
I've got to get off, but
Yeah, me too.
okay. Well, you're all excused who need to leave, but I am there for you, John.
Well, thank you. Thank
Or
Okay,
you.
I'm
well,
here for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. It's
It's
very.
either this or watch Better Eat Feed
I
Phil.
believe it was.
Bye, Susan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You can catch the recording.
Okay.
I'll
Well-
send it to her.
It's very short, but with earlier conversation about the short songs and the short fairy tales reminded me of back in 4th grade when there was a poem by Ogden Nash that let me explain a little bit. Is the teacher had asked us all to memorize a poem and get up in front of the class and recite it. And I guess I was looking back, a little bit of a wise guy about it because there were no particulars about the length of the poem or anything like that. But I decided to pick one that I read by Ogden Nash that was really short. And it was called "There Goes the Whoppity Hippity Hoppity." That was it. And so I got up. The teacher, she didn't berate me for picking something. But after the end, when everybody did their poems, I kind of felt like maybe I really should have done better and done something a little more challenging. But anyway, that's what I did. Well, fast forward a year, in 5th grade, we had moved from Michigan to California, and down in San Diego, there was a similar assignment, and this time I thought, well, I'm going to challenge myself. So I picked Casey at the Bat. Went way overboard maybe, but actually I was pretty good at memorizing a lot of stuff. But I kind of froze up in class, and I didn't really get it right. Didn't do it justice. But anyway, that's what happened that year. None of the students knew me from the year before, but I knew that I had to do better than I had the year before, and even though it didn't, I got kind of froze and didn't do the poem justice. That's what I chose, and so, but I'll never forget Ogden Nash. There goes the whoppity hippity hoppity. If he's had one that was shorter than that, I don't know, but that's the shortest one I could find. Thanks.
So, John, now is it spelled, do you think Wapiti is spelled like the elk that we see in Colorado?
I think it was
Skunk?
Wapati.
Yeah, I've got I have the vowels mixed up, but I wonder if Ogden Nash was influenced. I mean, so many of his poems are geographically based or specific to an animal or to, can I do one?
Sure. Yeah.
It's short. It's not as short as yours, but it's some primal termite knocked on wood and tasted it and found it good. And that is why your cousin May fell through the parlor floor today.
I love that.
My favorite short poem was from first grade. I just looked it up. I never knew who the poet was. It was Gelett Burgess, 1895. I never saw a purple cow. I never hoped to see one, but I would tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one.
My favorite short poem, I think, is by Ogden Nash. It's "The old dog barks backward without getting up. I can remember when he was a pup." It barks backward. You get it?
Good.
May I do my seagull one?
Sure.
Ogden Nash.
Please.
Hark to the whimper of the seagull. He cries because he's not an eagle. If you were, you silly seagull, what would you say to your she-gull?
Oh.
That's clever.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have a poem, but I have a sighting this morning because Fred and I walk each morning to Contra Loma Reservoir, 3 blocks away. That's our morning walk. And this morning, we'd been seeing an eagle. He would perch on the fence as we walk by. So what I realized today is we're very self-centered, and we'd say, "Oh, the owl has flown there to greet us today." We'd see him different days, not knowing if he and she, or she doesn't know. But 2 days ago, we saw 2 baby owls there, and this morning there were 4 baby owls with her. Yeah, it's a burrowing owl, so she's either right on the fence post or she's down on the ground next to a burrow. And they really had been there. We hadn't seen the babies until 2 days ago, and then again today. Yeah, and they're not tiny babies. They're still fluffy, but they're not real tiny. So they've been there. But it's that's my favorite thing about our walk is that it's out in nature. So we see the eagle is there once a year for a couple weeks, and then it'll be gone. And we did see the coyote again. We hadn't seen the coyote for like 3 months, and then saw the coyote at the end of last week. Yeah.
Well,
The coyotes are always in twos. Linda, your microphone is wiggled again.
Testing, 2, 3.
Perfect. Yeah.
Pandemic pluses,
Yeah, well, we walk anyway before the pandemic. That's our walk. So we have a history, and now because we walk all seasons, we see the same setting in its different seasons. Like I could pick a tree and I know what it looks like in each of the seasons because we always go for a walk. I've got some photos of the same area of the Contra Loma in the different seasons. Yeah.
Wow, I am a total walker. Not lately. Who can raise their hand if you're still doing what you can do when it comes to walking? Like if it's me, I've got to be going for a bus or a BART, or I'm not going anyplace.
Oh,
For me,
Wow.
because I don't walk much, so.
Wow. Good for
I
you.
I am inspired by my husband because I wasn't walking, and then I retired before him, and then immediately he started walking. So I told myself, this is for me. It's up to me to help my own health. I have to follow him and do his walk. And so now it's our together walk, 5 days a week. 5 days a week takes a whole hour. It's about 2 3/4 miles.
Wow. Your knees happy? Your ankles happy?
Yeah, yeah, still are. So now it's been 10 years.
What a great habit.
Time passes.
Marion, you're good at themes. Have you ever had a theme on a verb, or is it usually a noun? It just occurred to me a walking theme would, you could pull it off. I can't pull a theme out of a paper bag, but
Well, when I do themes for Delta Word Weavers, I consider my group, and they're pretty novice with stories. So I don't make it too innocuous, I make it pretty concrete so that it's pretty understandable to them. Yeah. John, let's see, what are some of our themes? I mean, it'll be like winter, pretty general. Winter.
Vacations maybe, or travel.
Oh yeah, vacations, traveling, adventures, springtime.
Marion, I have a question about Delta Word Weavers. Have you ever had a history night like you recently had your history night? Has anyone ever told the Johnny Appleseed story?
No,
Oh, wow.
I have mainly listeners. I have been training them, if you will, and John here, hey, he's right here for me. Is he there for you? This is where he is on my gallery. But,
yes.
So,
well, he's there for me.
Oh, yeah.
But I know John.
Anyway, he's been coming to Word Weavers for 3.5 years or so. So, but each person comes with their own background, and experiences. So he's been in theater, and he also does singing. And I loved his song he did 2 months ago. So that was fun. Yeah.
What was the song? I was there in May. Oh, April.
I would answer, but John can answer.
I didn't.
Second time around.
Yeah, the second time around. Yeah. Bing Crosby did in the movie High Time, and other people have done it too. Yeah. Yeah.
I like to balance the evening or afternoon with, to me, I'm fine to have music in there. We used to have a guitar player who would sing his own little ballads. Well, yeah, I do say it's to be a ballad. That's pretty much. Hey, second time's around. That's a story. But yeah, it's because I didn't want people to come with just, this is not about, a lot of funny singing. If you have a ballad type of song, that's fine. And poems, I encourage poems. Stories, poems, and songs. Hey, Mitch.
Mitch, you're muted.
Still muted, Mitch.
Oh, I said I gotta go now.
Oh,
okay.
Having this opportunity. It's been so long.
Thanks. We'll come to Word Weaver sometime.
Means by Zoom, right?
Yeah, by Zoom. We have 5 story swaps out of SAC that are now on Zoom. So, we can get you the links for all 5.
Yeah, why not?
Shags, you want to send Mitch all 5 links?
Well,
or Linda. Linda's got his email.
Yeah, Linda has my email.
Right. What's a good document that has all of the links for SAC, Zoom?
I'm making one right now because I have a list of people who want them. So I just got
all the swaps.
Yeah, all the swaps.
All right.
Exact-
Well, all right. I can do this in the chat room quickly, but it has a lot of dates. I don't have time to cut it down. So just copy it, paste it, and skim it down.
Or, yeah,
Well,
because
that-
I'm doing it without all those dates on it.
Okay, good, because I don't have it without all the dates.
Shags, what you just said, will Mitch be able to get the link from that or just the dates?
Yeah, the
I think
links.
I got the link right here. Let's see.
Cool.
Yeah, the links are on it. It's the link. It's the link. It's the meeting room number and the password, plus all the dates that they're scheduled to meet.
Yeah. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just
Mitch, it's a
copy it
joy.
all and you got it.
Mitch, it's a joy having you back with us. I hope all was well, and maybe it was just other reasons you weren't coming to the.
Well, I have health problems. I'll tell you the truth.
Oh, bless your heart. Here you are.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I was, when Marion was talking about seeing the owls and the coyotes and stuff, like, boy, I haven't been any place like that for a long time, but it's good to hear it anyway. And thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you for your sharing.
Thank
It's
you.
great.
Folks, Marion brought up the burrowing owls. Are they that common? Because Berkeley has some, and they make a big deal about it. They're down by the Berkeley Marina, and they put caution tape. And I haven't been lately, but we're not supposed to go too close, and we're supposed to treat them with great respect. Of course.
Well, they don't want anybody to ruin the habitat or
No.
kill the owls. So that's what the public's trying to do, is take care of those that are here. So yeah, these are inside the park, so they are protected in that way. And they live out in the field, and we're walking on a path, which is not in the middle of the field. But yeah, but when she flies up to the fence, then she's right along the road. So I love wildlife, so that's my favorite thing.
Till they eat you.
They better not. Fred will say that about the vultures up there, because I'm kind of small, and he'll say, "Oh, the vultures are waiting for you, Marion."
A husband with a
He's
sense
too
of
cheap for
humor.
a funeral.
What about funeral?
He's too cheap for a funeral.
Yeah, that's it.
Actually, I want to go to one of those cadaver farms where they put you out in the forensics study what happens to the critters that drag your body around.
Ooh.
I'm going to be gone. I don't care what happens. It'll be fun to do.
There you go. Invite your friends to see you or something. I don't know.
And then take what's left and put in one of those things that grows a tree.
Okay.
I have a friend who knew a vintner in Contra Costa County, the last one. And after my friend passed, the vintner fulfilled the last request, which was to be cremated, and ashes. We at the funeral, we took the ashes and we all sprinkled them underneath the vintner's almond trees. And now our friend Jack is literally pushing up the daisies.
Oh, great.
Love it.
And I'm loving all the new ways to think about disposal of our remains. This is morbid. Now you know why Kurt calls me morbid.
It's not morbid. It's part of the carbon cycle.
And you got a plan for it.
It's earthy.
We always think that we're raising vegetables to feed us. No, they're growing to feed us. So when we die, we compost and they get to eat us again. They absorb all our nutrients.
You do have an interesting take. All my life, I never even thought of that.
Yeah. And what about vegans? Do they really prefer a healthy diet, or do they just hate vegetables so much they want to rid the world of them one at a time by eating?
Oh, that's another good laugh.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, perceptions are.
the documentary years ago, The Secret Life of Plants. It'll make you think about great Stevie Wonder music also, but make you think
Yeah.
about plants in a different way. It's a wonderful film.
Yeah, they're growing us to eat us.
Thank you, John. So what shall we do now, my friends? If anybody has something, I'm happy to stay.
No, I'm going to sign off.
It's been a long day too.
Okay.
Yeah. All these people here will know about word weavers. So I haven't got any kids yet, but I got to start working on that.
Marion, before you sign off, can you tell me again what the kid thing is? I haven't talked to my twin brother in Antioch, but he's got grandchildren.
I invite children who are apparently brave and who would like to come to Word Weavers. And so you tell them it's on an adult Zoom meeting because it's going to be adults. I hope to have some children in the audience.
What's the role of the children? Audience only? Why do they have to be
No,
brave?
I want them to tell stories.
The children will tell.
That's it. I want the children to tell stories that if I could, I would have entire meeting of nothing but children. If I had 10 children, I mean, this is my idea. If I had 10 children who would each tell a story, they would do the whole session.
Oh, wow.
How fun.
So they'll do it live, no recording and sending you an MP3 or
No,
something.
no, I want them on Zoom.
Just like the, okay.
Just like this. That's what I want. And now it's down to 1 month away, and I don't have a commitment of a child yet. I have 3 ideas of 3 children that I think could do it, but I now have to pin them down. Okay, it's coming. It has a date.
When you were 3 years old.
Oh.
I don't know. Could do a 3-year-old.
I don't know if that bald head could make it to be a 3-year-old child.
I could put a hat on.
Put a hat on. Marion, I will mention it to my in my courtyard here in Berkeley. I have a courtyard. We have a 3-year-old, and then we have part-time between 5 and 10-year-olds. 2 of them. They're older than 3.
Yeah, 3-year-olds don't do a story well enough, but they're welcome to come listen. That I'm fine. I consider it a family, a really family time. July 12th, Sunday afternoon at 2. So I'm going to fill up the evening beyond the children. I'm going to put on the children first, and then so that I have the timing of whoever's brave to come. And then I'll fill it in, so to speak, with adults telling fun stories. So yesterday, what I get 3, I think I got 3 volunteers from yesterday.
And today maybe the Susan person. Cool.
Yeah. I went to Wayne Harris's storytelling class at the Marsh during spring. I went to 6 of his sessions. He and I know each other well enough, and we both did the Story Bridge program through Stage Bridge. So yeah, he let me come, but also I gave him 3 students, so you
are an eternal spring for resources.
I love being resourceful. Well, they were from Sunday school, one leads to the other, and those same 3 children, I'm going to be calling them up this week and ask them if they would commit. And I do think this one girl, Colby, I think she'll do it. Gabby's a little shy, so I'm not sure if we will, but I think
didn't Zach do a program with a group in Richmond that provided high school tellers?
Yes, the high school tellers did a lot of rap, rap kind of thing. It was earthy. I mean, their stories were more earthy.
It was actually called RAW, wasn't it?
Something like that.
One of them was.
Say that name again.
RAW, Raw.
Raw Talent. That's it.
Raw Talent.
Raw Talent, yeah. But their stories were too, too heavy for young children.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they were good, but I would put them in an adult program.
And just tell them take it down a level.
Well, they haven't, and some of them made it big. One of
Good.
the leader, a black student, he became a leader of their group, and then he's got some national following, or he's been to places somehow. I can't remember. I saw that he was active
Was that Dante Clark?
performing. Yeah, Dante. Yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Well, he's made a name for himself in his performance.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So that teacher, yeah, who was on our board there for a while, was
That's,
very, I know.
Molly
very
Rayner.
good.
Molly Rayner
Yeah.
was on the board, as I recall.
Yeah.
I remember the name.
We haven't seen her since, so I don't know what she's doing.
well.
But so yeah, if anybody has, okay, Linda.
How do
so
I know
if you,
this stuff?
if you have some people in mind, if they once they decide, they need to contact me. So essentially, by phone would be best, because I need to talk to them. The children, I want to hear their story beforehand. I want to know how, they never know how many minutes it is. You know, they don't quite get it's got to be set, and, you know, you can't ramble on.
Sorry.
Tell me
So,
about the 3-minute,
filters,
5-minute. What's the
no,
parameter?
I'm not going to time. You
Okay.
could say 5 minutes,
Okay. Okay.
but it can be any length, even if they do a real short one, because they're so cute. We'll go, yay, you know, I'm fine.
World's shortest fairy tale.
But
Would you take a piano? Would it all be verbal versus musical? The 3-year-old is now doing amazing piano work, according to my brother.
well, I don't. I'm going to say no. I don't want piano recital and
All right.
things like that. Yeah, it's not a talent show.
Okay.
It's a storytelling.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mhm.
Okay.
All righty.
Anybody have any last words? I do not. But Chegs, Marion, John, thank you for your help and your attendance. I am so
Oh, yeah,
happy.
this is fun.
Oh, thank you for having this. I look forward to it all the
Yay.
time.
I'm glad that Marion and Shags were really promoting the idea of doing the virtual. I think it's really been a good idea. I was thinking it was a last resort, and what nothing
What
better.
about that another group too? I
Oh,
don't have my email open, but there's another
what day
group.
of the week? What time of the day?
I don't know yet. That's what I
Okay.
wrote to them and asked.
Go Shags.
So
I
since
think
it's
actually
just
2 more. That one and also Ed Silverman's.
okay.
You know.
That'd be great.
But
So
they have
who's
to-
the other one?
I have
Santa.
to open my email. Let's see. Email.
I guess Rohnert Park.
No, it's Lori Pines with South Bay Storytellers and Listeners.
Oh, I'm surprised they're going to join us on Zoom. I thought they had their own.
Is South Bay Storytellers
know.
not question?
She and Joy Swift are talking about it.
Joyce.
That's what I was just about to ask you, if Joy
Yeah.
Swift was going to be interested in that. Is she South Bay Storytelling? Joy Swift?
I don't know, apparently.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I know what's going on
Good.
down there. They have their own. I mean, I was always disappointed they didn't join us for Meetup. And what I
right.
found later was they were doing already their own Meetup. You
Well,
know,
that was Steve Abel, right?
yeah, so they had an account and they were already doing that. So they didn't need us. That was their opinion. I felt it
I
still
wrote
would
to
be
Steve
nice.
because he was a past board member and he never responded. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
he's like that sometimes, because I try to communicate with him about Telebration, and sometimes he answers and sometimes he doesn't. He's just independent down there. And yeah, different than working with Joy Swift, who always answers.
Okay, good. So I'll go to Joy and Laurie.
Yeah,
Hey.
if that's who's speaking up, then
Probably because they can't get a hold of Steve to use his account.
yeah.
Cool. Well, folks, thank you
Okey doke.
again. It's upbeat.
Alrighty.
I'm
Tell me when to
uplifted.
say end, because when I push the button, we're all gone.
Right. Do we need to check our, what, okay. Oh,
Well,
very
you're July
good.
20th next month, correct?
For Linda.
Looking at my old-fashioned calendar.
Looking at the old-fashioned calendar.
Okay, Marion's leaving. See ya. I'm
Bye,
ready to push
Marion.
my
Bye,
button.
Marion.
July 20, Shags, you're spot on.
Okay. I'm pushing the
Okay.
button. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, John. Bye,
Love you
Shags.
all.
Bye. Good night.